Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Yo, what up?
Down the Marco.
Peace and blessings, man. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Thursday. It's good to be back. Shout outs to everybody in the building, from viewer to viewer, panel to panel. Much love, much love. I hope all is well. Friday is right around the corner. Salutes to my poets, writers, content creators, all of the above. Much love to you. Zay, Coach, good evening. How is everybody doing today? What's the word?
Good. Glad to see everyone tonight.
Feeling good, feeling fine, baby. Let's get it on.
This is probably some of the weirdest stuff I done seen on the internet so far, man. And I've seen a lot of weird shit up here. I'm gonna bring this up on the big screen. This is a separate video from the one that I originally showed. This goes a little deeper into it. But yeah, we're gonna chop it up, man. Let me bring this up on a biggie. Hold up. Let my man get his bars off. And we're gonna cook.
For 300 piles of cremated human remains has been found 1 hour south of Las Vegas. I'm like, hold up, wait. 300 piles? Not 300 people? How are there so many? Who would do such a thing? So I'm thinking, okay, it is Vegas. A lot of stuff could go on that we don't know. Are there like some gangsters or mafia out here? Are they gambling debts? Is it human highwaying, which I heard can happen around here? Are they taking homeless people? The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department receives about 600 missing people reports per month. How does nobody know? So they've been investigating, and they're like, what kind of people would have this many bodies? And they're like, oh, a funeral home. one of these funeral homes must be dumping their ashes. So the police, they start questioning the funeral homes over here. And they're like, hey, we had nothing to do with that. But in this picture, he looked like he had something to do with it. This is just a random picture, but Selena, president of Palm Mortuaries and Cemeteries, said, hey, we think it's important to make sure that these people are not forgotten and not left. We actually care about people. But, we'll help you clean it up. These eyes are not helping. So they go out there with boxes and shovels, and they're, as we speak right now, cleaning up the whole area, picking up all of the remains and ashes. But as of right now, this is still a whole mystery. I don't like that. Guys, I was looking at the piles, and they look crazy. Think about it, right? Think about it. If you had a truck full of cremated ashes and you were disposing of the piles, you obviously don't care. If you were taking them off the truck, wouldn't you just put them all in one pile? There's some over there. They're so spread out. Each pile must have different timelines. There might be a couple different people, because as you can see over here, they're all mixed up. And then over there, this person gave each person their own little section. Now, guys, Palm is going to place all 315 remains into a crypt in its cemeteries so loved ones can come find them. Yeah, question. How the fuck are they going to do that? Right, if they didn't know it was missing then, how are they going to know now? Y'all can't even identify the ashes. I don't know, y'all, but stay safe out there. Okay, guys, look at this. Look at this.
Initial thoughts. Jay?
That's a lot of piles.
Yeah.
In Vegas too. That's why they say, what they say, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Is that why?
Yeah, it's a little crazy. Definitely suspect. And then outside of Vegas, though, you got Reno. It's not too far, so I don't know how you'd be able to get 300 pounds of human remains strategically placed out in the middle of nowhere. It just seems kind of suspect. Looks like something's being staged, and we're getting ready for something that's coming next.
Definitely feels staged. All of them placed in the same area. Some of them are mixed. Some of them are like neatly separated, not too far apart. There's another video where the man is saying they identified 3 people, right? Because they had things that didn't get incinerated completely. So they were able to kind of say, all right, this is such and such and such and such. But for you to have that many people put out there in that fashion, yeah, I have a lot of questions. Because you're saying in one breath, it's possible that it's the funeral home, and then I've never heard of that before.
It's impossible. It doesn't work that way, man. That's not the way that human remains work, especially depending on where it was stored. It's too organized and too structured for it to be random. So definitely interesting to keep your eyes on what's going to come out in that area. But it's too well organized and too randomly structured. You just don't find piles like that anywhere, and it's just the perfect number of 300. Perfect assortments of commingled and uncommingled remains just sitting out there. It's just, if you ever dealt with that type of stuff before, it's impossible that you can find it like that.
Zay, does this look like real fishy and suspect to you, man? I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard of disposing of someone in this manner, whether or not you doing a business. Like, is it possible, right, that this funeral home had so many backups, or they just didn't have nobody to come and say, "Hey, this is my family member," because I can't identify them. They didn't know what to do with them, so they just said, "Oh, well, since nobody is coming to say this is my aunt or cousin or whatever, then we're just gonna do this. That way, nobody gets hurt in the process because they go missing."
Well, someone in the comments point out that there's a lot of space outside of Vegas. So I feel like there shouldn't be an excuse, even if like no one's claiming them. There shouldn't be an excuse to have a burial site, if that makes sense. To not have a burial site for these people and for them to be dumping their ashes. I don't know. It seems like something's off about that. Because wouldn't the family would want to do that? Like, but if no one's claiming them, I can see why, but I don't know.
Yeah. So typically, what happens, man, is they will run a DNA, and then with them running the DNA and all other things, they will run whatever files they have on record, and then they would notify the next of kin through that way. So it would be a process. It wouldn't be them just strategically placing them out there in the field, and then so what happens is what you're looking at right now is so well structured and laid out. It shows it was some type of ceremonial, or there was some type of grace being placed out there, and it's being displayed like that for a reason. Because typically that wouldn't happen. So I'll give you an example. Um, well, there was a situation in another country where there was American soldiers that were they were buried in a cemetery in a foreign country, and they had deemed that to be like that version, call that America, where they were born at, U.S. soil. And there was a leader or a dictator that was going to go in. He was going to build a mall on top of that cemetery where there was soldiers and stuff at. But because of the treaty and the things that they had to contact people in the U.S. to come and give them the opportunity to reinter those remains. That means to dig them back up and then properly bring them back, restore, and provide closure to the families here in America. That's just the grace from off the battlefield. So for something like this to happen on the U.S. soil and blatant disregard, but just kind of laid out there as if it's a piece to a puzzle, yeah, it's something beyond it.
Yeah, I was even thinking about that too. You have to identify, or try to at least identify, these people, you know, through bone, through anything that you can get off of them. You want to identify as much as possible, but this come off like it was well organized. It's maybe, just maybe, it's a system that they follow, because
Dude, you know the manpower it takes to transport all of that stuff and then place it down strategically where they did
right,
it.
right.
Ain't no maybe. That's organization at its finest. You can't get people at McDonald's to put hot fries in the bag. You talking about they went out there and put all these remains out there at 300 pounds? 300
Yeah.
means consistency. 300 means repetition. 300 means discipline in order to do it over and over and over again without any mistakes.
The shit remind me of something that happened in Mississippi. There's a prison out there, right? They buried, they didn't cremate, they buried over 100 people. Some of them were prisoners. Some of them weren't even prisoners at all. They were just people who went missing. They put numbers next to them as if like, oh, this is number one that I killed. And like I always thought shit like that was real suspect. This reminds me of that. Except they didn't burn them enough, and they just kind of disregarded them. And
remember during COVID in Atlanta, they weren't burying them, no burning them. They were just stacking them in the backyard. They were supposed to be cremating them. They was out there just stacking them up in the backyard. I mean, it's another one of those things, man. You think it's weird and it's crazy, but it's a lot of people, especially in the South, North Carolina, South Carolina, that have funeral parlors inside their homes. You know, small businesses, LLCs. You walk up in a house and you got 3 or 4 bodies just sitting on the table, chest cavities busted wide open. You know what I mean? Small business. It just depends on what you're doing. But yeah, big business in the funeral business, man. People die every day, B. You know what I'm saying? Cameron voice. They die every day. So yeah, that's the one thing that, you know, that's going to be lucrative is sometimes you may run out of space, especially if you put them in the ground swelling, the area you in, the ground, you know what I mean? Or if the ground's too dry, you can't put nothing in the ground, limestone underneath the ground, all that rock. It's a business. So again, you're just thinking about, you know, storage and capacity at this particular point. And did they do too much during COVID? Nobody knows. But I mean, it definitely leads to a lot of different questions. But the funeral parlor business is one of the biggest scams that's out there, you know, between you making sure they got, you know, the correct amount of embalming fluid in there, or the correct amount or least amount of bleach water in there, and what are they doing, the 6-point, the 8-point injections into the bodies. There's all type of things to be inspected, just like any other business out there. So it's no wonder that these type of things are happening. It's just now somebody's putting a light on it.
You said consistency, repetition, 2 words that I highlighted out of this. Considering that's a barren land, it's not really nothing out there. It's just dirt and sand, essentially. So you could easily just go out here in the middle of nowhere and do what you gotta do and go home. How do you go unnoticed for all of this time and get away with that? Right? I mean, like, come on, there's cameras everywhere now. You know, you telling me not a single soul in the world is looking for their loved ones. No one's asking questions. It's just, oh, we just happen to come.
Real easy, bro. Real easy. Everybody, all they talk about right now is cutting people off. Nobody talking about who they checking for. We're in a cutoff culture where we cut people off and we aren't checking up to see how people are doing mentally, physically, or spiritually. That's how. It's not like back in the day, call somebody, look out for the person next to you. Everybody you talk to or you look online, everybody's talking about cutting somebody off and not talking to them again. So if everybody's cut off, how are you checking for people? It's easy for you to disappear if ain't nobody checking for you. You cut off.
Zay, this pops up on your news feed. What's your first reaction? How do you respond to that? Does it really fly across your radar, or do you ignore it and go on with the rest of your day? Like when I saw it, I said, all right, red flag, warning, pay attention, something is off here. Like Coach just said, we don't get in contact with our peoples no more. My thing is, let me check on such and such and such and such and see how they doing. How do you respond to that? Or do you just keep swiping?
I will say, damn. Like that clip,
Bang, bang.
Kevin Hart clip, where he said to Don Cheadle,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my initial reaction. But I just think it's that many bodies is insane. But it doesn't surprise me either. There's so many secrets within and on this earth that nobody knows. So it's not surprising to me that this type of stuff is happening. Because look at the direction that we're going. You know, there's wars going on that we don't even know about. There's a war right now. There's rumors of civil war. There's so many things happening on this earth. So like if this happens if I see it on my screen, I'm gonna be real upset. I'm a little doubt. I was upset when I know this don't correlate with what we're talking about, but I was upset with IRS, you know? But it's just things happen on this world to show you where we're at. And it's either what we do with that information or we just go about our day. Me personally, I would take it, I would put it in my head and always be mindful of my surroundings because it could easily happen to you if you go missing. It's just one of those things you gotta look out for.
Last I checked, it said over 600,000 people go missing a year in the U.S. and 300,000 of them are children. The U.S. was at the top of the list. It was the UK, or it was Russia, number 2. Then it like you hear these numbers and these statistics, and it's like, damn. Is it really that many people going missing on this planet that much, like that often? Like every day you get up, every day you go to bed, somebody's getting snatched up. It don't feel real because it's not in your house. But the stuff is actually going on, and then it's like, all right, clearly there's a market for everything. Everything is not just out of hatred. There's just some people that's trying to make money. And the way they might make money might not be the way we might make money. You're piling people up on top of other caskets. You refurbishing caskets. You selling skulls and femur bones and collarbones and skulls on the black market. Like, I don't know. This whole thing to me is just disturbing as hell, bro. It makes me want to pray more. It makes you want to stay in contact with everybody that you know and love, man. Because if this put it this way, if this has been going on this long, because you don't just do that overnight. Should there be more of a spotlight on this now? Like, honestly, you just found 300 bodies. If you found it once, you're going to find it again.
Man, it's too late, man. Yeah. It's too late for people to be pretending like they give a shit about anything or anybody else other than themselves. I mean, everything we talk about, man, is Don't nobody care about nothing but themselves. Ain't nobody doing nothing. Ain't nobody talking about nothing. It don't really matter at this point, man. To be honest with you, at this point, what they tell you every time you get on the airplane is put your mask on first and take care of yourself. That's what everybody should be doing. Self-care right now is what you should be doing. And you should be getting ready, getting your mind right, getting aware with fight or flight, getting aware with ways to take care of yourself and your loved ones around you. Because again, if you just now waking up and trying to show up and figure out how you can contribute, you've been asleep too long, man. Because it's only a matter of time before the internet goes out. And once the internet goes out, what y'all gonna do? All the tough guys out there and all the people talking about how everybody's down for the culture and all that shit that don't matter. What you gonna do? You start talking about humanity. You start talking about morality, doing the right thing for people. Now's the time to start thinking about that kind of stuff. So many people out here suffering from mental health, and everybody's just focusing on the wrong thing. So, whatever feels right to you, and I'm not saying anybody on the panel, I'm just saying anybody that's watching this video that's out there, it's a call to action. What are you going to do? When is enough going to be enough? And that's the things you need to be asking yourself. You can talk about all this other shit. It's just gossip. But we all know what's going on, man. And the things that's taking place out there. And it's because nobody has any self-worth or any value. So they don't think that their shit matter. They worry about everybody else's stuff. And that's the problem, man. You got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to you. Believing in yourself and yourself first.
What do you say to somebody, Zay, man? I mean, I agree, bro. I don't think we care anymore at all. It's like, and it's been like that for a while. And for the folks that still go out here and they put on their boots and they strap in and they do the protesting and they sign off on the paperwork and they scream and yell at the government, most of us are still plugged in. You've seen the Matrix before. People are still plugged in. They're more comfortable behind that little bubble. They know the world is burning down around them. But as long as they don't have to experience it and see it firsthand, then it really doesn't make a difference. What Agent Smith say? I'll give you Neo. Just make me important. I want to be like a politician or someone with money, and I don't want to feel a thing. I just give me this and I'll let you have that. That's how most people operate now. So me personally, yeah, I'm on higher alert. But do you think that people see this story and it changes anything for them?
For the people that's involved, for sure. For the people that's watching, consuming this content, it really depends on their heart. It really depends on. Because I agree, you can't really, at this point, you can't really do much about it. The only thing you can do is support the organizations that are willing to fight for change. That's the only thing you can do. Also, be part, if you can and you are able, be part of those organizations. There's more than just commenting and like Coach said, gossiping. Gossip is not going to do anything. Action behind your thoughts goes a long way. And if you can fight for what you believe in, I would do it. But it really depends on the circumstance, the person. It all has a factor, and it's mind boggling. You don't want to see 300 bodies on your screen, man. That's it reminds me of Texas, how they have more than 300. What do you call that? Death penalties. You think about those things, and you just like, dang, those things happen in your own country. You know, it's mind boggling. But what can you do? You can't go to a person, put a gun to their head, and say, hey, stop putting, stop dumping people's ashes. That's that's you gotta do what you feel is right, and I don't know. I'm gonna end it there.
I want to know how they got there. I wish there was a way where I could actually see what these people's life was like before they ended up in that state that they're in. Nobody deserves to get discarded like that. I don't care who you are. And the thing that I think is crazy is, how are you going to put them in a crematorium and expect people to recognize or figure out who these folks are? Like, how does that work? They're dust. There's nothing that you can, unless there's some advancements in science that I missed. How the hell do you take a grain of sand or whatever you want to call it, and then figure out who this person was from there? How do you do that? We just got people that are missing, probably will never be found, never identified, one of those unsolved mystery situations. And you get to go on with your day. You're trying to say, oh, in one video, they say a crematorium did it. In this one, they don't have no answer for it. Yeah, the whole thing is suspect, bro. I just feel bad for the families, man. Whether or not you think these are humans, maybe they were homeless, who knows what their situation was. They didn't deserve that, period. And whoever was responsible for it, karma is a bitch. You can only get away with so much for so long. I don't know. Are our self-awareness just gone? Are we just so stuck in our phones and our devices that we just don't see nothing that's going on around us anymore?
Yeah, man. Not to be circular, but again, man, people only care about what they care about until it hits home. You know what I mean? Like right now, all the shit that's happening in Minneapolis. I listened to a few broadcasts, and a lot of people were saying that people don't care because initially the gentleman was Caucasian, but he was standing up for an African American woman. So now people are kind of placing themselves and trying to pick and choose how they're going to argue. Nobody cares because the guy was Caucasian, and then you don't care because he stood up for an African American woman. So now you can spin it with whatever narrative that you want to. So now you're not showing support because somebody else was standing up for an African American woman, and now you're not fighting for your own people. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the headlines, on however you want to spin it. You can take the narrative and go whichever direction you want to. and pivot. Now everybody have their own lane on social media, whether you believe into it or not. And that's the problem with it, man. Is, and you mentioned earlier about civil war. Well, yeah, we're pretty much there. I mean, everything that they can do to preempt it is out there. You know what I mean? Everybody's. I mean, in order to invade in the country, the first thing they do is have you lose faith in the government, and I think that's probably what's happening right now. So everybody losing faith in the government, and then it's crumbling from the inside. Everybody's attacking each other. Everybody's going back and forth. American citizens can't count on nobody. You know, then they're picking the one people to stand out, and they're using key words, trigger statements. You know, now they're saying you're gonna have to justify being a U.S. citizen, walking up and down the streets. Playboy, you in a modern day third world country. These are the things that happens in these other countries. This ain't the type of shit that happens in America. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to walk around with a passport or you to be fear of deportation outside of the country. That's not something you hear about being in America. Walking through the streets of Bulgaria, Croatia, you know, different places like that. Those are the type of things you may hear from time to time, but definitely not necessarily being in America. So, yeah, it's a lot of things for you to worry about, man. I just think right now everybody's racking and stacking different, because if you got family members that are Hispanic, you know, you're at a disadvantage. If you got family members that be a darker color, but you know, Honduran, Trinidadian, or different things like that, now they might get rounded up. They just rounded up some black people on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Then if you got kids that are biracial and they out there hanging out in the street somewhere at a bar or something like that, now they getting rounded up. Everybody's getting rounded up to wind up in a third world country. What did they say? You will own nothing and be happy. Well, you ain't gonna own shit, because if everybody's locked up in a concentration camp somewhere, now we all trying to figure out, you know what I'm saying, who's supposed to be here, who ain't supposed to be here. And now you start dividing up society a different way. So it just depends on what you look at, you know, how open-minded you are. And it's a lot of things that's happening, a lot of psyops and psychological operations that happen right here in front of your face. So it just depends on what you want to focus on. And we can talk about it.
Zay, you're speaking to a multitude of men and women right now. They just finished watching this. They haven't spoken to their loved ones in weeks, days, months. What do you say to them to give them at least some type of realization that maybe there's some things that we need to put into perspective? Some stuff that we're focusing on isn't as significant as we think it is, and we need to go back to the basics. What would you say to these people to keep them from freaking out?
That's tough. That's a tough question. I would say I know that you are worried about your loved ones, and I know that they hold a place in your heart that no one can take. And I know that you got a lot of concerns about that loved one. But just know that it's being handled. It's being handled by the Most High. It's being handled by the person that's investigating this case. It's being handled. You don't need to be scared. But it's being taken care of. Don't worry. And I'm sorry that I can't do anything about your grief. But I am here for you if you need to talk. And then ended the
Words of encouragement, final thoughts. While everything on social media isn't real, then there's some things that you have to dismiss. I think you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Stop taking life for granted. Do your research on the things that you're watching and consuming. Be more informative. Educate yourself. Every disagreement and fallout that you have with somebody is not necessarily worth completely walking away from it forever. There's some situations where you have to do it, but there's things that people say I'm done with them for, and it really could have been resolved an entirely different way. You don't want that on your heart. That what if? A lot of information that's being put on the internet just for entertainment purposes. Some of it is blatantly telling us the truth within fiction. Some of it is nothing but AI generated jargon. You got to be able to sift through this stuff. What you really want to do overall is protect yourself as much as possible in and out of this house. And I'm not just talking about the roof and the motor and cement and the windows, and talking about your spiritual house. There's a lot of wickedness out here, and there's a lot of people out here that's doing things that are so unimaginable that we get too comfortable. Way too comfortable. So I would say, first and foremost, stay prayed up. Stay prayed up, because you never know. And you constantly got to be repenting, if anything else, because at the end, when we all leave from here, is you by yourself. It ain't going to be me or this person or that person with you. Just you on your own, transitioning to make sure that your relationship with the creator is good, regardless of anything else that's going on in this life, because you can't predict it. A fucking asteroid could hit my house. A bottle rocket could hit one of these antennas, transformers, and blow up everything. Like, you really don't know. It's like that. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. You want to close us out with anything, bro, or you straight?
Hey, okay, hold up, man. Somebody in the it's water, Shep. It's water, brother. H2O. Go hydrate. Talking that shit. Hey, anyway, man. So I was gonna say, man. So look, man, I just started a men's health support and grow group on Facebook, man. I started it 6 days ago, and I'm up to 53 members right now. So what this is, man, it's just an opportunity for men, man, to provide a safe space. Um, just starting out, crawl, walk, run. So we figuring it out. But anybody, man, just want to pull up and just share some, have a conversation or whatever. Look that up on Facebook. Send me a DM, and I'll be sure to add you to the group. And then, so what it is, man, again, like I said, just trying to provide a safe space, man. We got to do better as men out there. You know what I mean? We got to take care of each other, hold each other accountable. Shep talking shit. It ain't even like that. Yeah. But anyway, man, hey, appreciate the opportunity, man. Great show tonight, folks.
Salutes to everybody in the building, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. I'm going back in the lab. You know how to reach me if you need to. Do me a solid before you go.
Push the goddamn button.
Peace.